Well, it happened while I was sleeping. We hit tournament number 100 and, well, this is the results of actually turn 109. Ignore this. This is updated after it updates the thing. I need to change that. But I actually thought it would take longer. I actually thought it would happen after I came home from work, but no, it's already here. So we're going to run the Apex tournament number 110. So far, the green decks are way dominating the blue decks. Didn't explain the way the point system works. Is that after the tournament's over, it awards points based on ranking. So the top four get a certain number of points. I believe it's like the square root of this. They get a certain number of points, and then each power of 2 after that gets double that. So the top 8 get a certain amount. The top 16 get a certain amount, but only up to the 50% mark. So anything that gets less than 50% of the bottom 50% of the decks don't get anything. Only the top 4 results are taking. So you can see in this tournament, the top, I don't know, is this 8? Counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, the top 8 of the top 9 are all green, but it doesn't count these. This deck kind of stole the show, won every match. I don't know if that's because one of the things with the way this match system works is this deck could have just matched up against other blue decks. It may have never fought a green deck. I'm curious to see. We are in Generation 6. It looks like the 2 major avatars are 53 and 40. 37 as a go show, and this last number here is the avatar number. So I can see at a glance. And green decks, we're also at 6, not as long as 6. There's only one 6, whereas I think there were several 6s in blue. Yeah, there are several 6s in blue. So blue has actually evolved more. Green seems to just be a better color, which is one of the reasons why I gave blue a bit of a head start. Green seems to prefer 48. There's a couple 50s, but mostly 48. Is there anything else I wanted to explain here? This number here is also the average of the last like 16, so that it can change over time. This number also determines how many. You'll see that there are more than 6 decks of each, like there was when we started. This number here also determines how many decks are loaded. So green gets to load 27 decks, blue gets to load 18. This represents the fact that the metagame tends to favor, like the human metagame tends to favor decks that have consistently performed. So people will play more of the decks that are winning than the decks that are kind of iffy. So let's start the second Apex tournament, or the second recorded Apex tournament. I guess this would be the 11th Apex tournament. No. Before I start this, I want to change, I need to change this to 1. There we go. Otherwise, they'll all go by in a blur and you won't get to see them. So we're still seeing a lot of variation in deck. They're not all the same. Champion's Helmet. A lot of Thriving Turtle in blue. A little Wind Raking blue. Seems to really like Curio Vendor. The last time I did this, there was a lot of Curio Vendors in the top deck. And I guess when you're dealing with a one-set format, this is literally a one-set format. So there's really nothing to replace Hero Vendor with. For blue. Honestly, though, they should replace Hero Vendor with Skycopter, but the computer doesn't think like that. Skyskiff. We're still seeing Skyskiffs. As I mentioned in the previous video, I think I mentioned it anyways, the AI doesn't recognize a big difference between Skyskiff and Smuggler's Copter. Smuggler's Copter, it doesn't use the looting ability of Smuggler's Copter, and so Smuggler's Copter only has a 1-point power difference. And it doesn't compare the card. It doesn't actually look at the card and say, oh, this one's better. No, it looks at results. And the amount of difference, 1 point of damage on one card, or possibly up to 4 cards, doesn't necessarily make a difference, especially when you're dealing with cards that are, what, 100 and, like, over 60 cards. Like this card, this guy has sold 80 cards in his library, and 14 cards in his deck. Oh, he's attacking with everything. He's going to get in before the... Is he going to get in before it forces it to be a draw? That's the previous match. And he won. Sometimes the computer will attack with everything, and then the game will, then the overriding tournament structure will say, no, this match is a draw. It's gone to time. The AIs don't know. The AIs aren't linked into that. Like, the AIs aren't developing it, aren't developing genetically. Otherwise, they would learn that, oh, hey, the match is going to time out, so let's stop. Let's just do nothing. I'm going to lose. Let's just do nothing. When I had the AI before that I was making for when I was doing this on XMage, that's what the AI would do. But this AI is completely independent. This AI is the base AI for Forge, and it doesn't learn that. It doesn't know that it's going to run out of time. It just plays and plays and plays and plays, and then the time runs out. It doesn't even know. And here's some Smuggler's Copters. This deck is using Smuggler's Copter. So chances are, as the decks get closer and closer to specializing, closer and closer to the sameness, the decks with Smuggler's Copter will win out over the decks with Skyskiff. But until then, there's so many variables that you can't pin. There's no way for it to pinpoint that as being this annoying. That'll happen sometimes. Forge is not designed to run this many tournaments like back to back and have the windows open and close on their own. So there's a few UI glitches that I need to deal with. Ooh, durable handicraft. The last time I did this, and I don't know if this, it looks like it's leaning towards the same. Durable handicraft and green +1/+1 counters became a very, very strong strategy that survived a lot, and it looks like it's starting to be the same with this Armorcraft Judge. Case in point, I believe that's the one that gives you a card for every creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. Long plus Cub. Gear per guide. I don't know what that does, and unfortunately this moves too fast for me to see it. Unfortunately, I made a mistake with the UI. I clicked and dragged at one point, so this is actually cut off to the edge. I know this is around the screen. This does not actually go over the screen. If I move this over, you'll see this is actually where the screen ends, which is a little annoying, but I'm not sure how to fix that. Yeah, I was trying to resize the window, and I dragged it, and I was actually dragging the bar, and it dragged it past the edge of the window. Rhino. Dragon Rhino. This is another card that the computer likes, especially early. It uses it to get around the walls, the Consulate Skygate. Blocks through the Consulate Skygate, they can kill it by giving it Death Touch. And if they don't block the Consulate Skygate, they just get through for damage. So, target creature you control can't be blocked by power 2 or less. Okay. That seems kind of relevant early. All right, so after the first round, I just want to quickly peek. Oh, okay, good. So the blue decks loaded this. There's a deck here that hasn't lost any matches. And it's a Generation 1 deck. I'm curious, is it only played one match? Block ranking. Doesn't show. Which means it's probably only played one match. Info. Oh, it's the results properties. Results 7E. Yeah, one win out of one match. So it came in first in one match, and it thinks it's a top deck. It's hilarious. The green, and I actually had the reason I implemented the Apex matches is I actually last time around I had like 8 green decks that all had like basically it doesn't load the same decks every time. So there were 8 decks that all had 100% match rates over like 8 to 10 tournaments. And it's like, okay, there's no way that these all have 100% match rates. They've just never been in a tournament together. So that's why I created the Apex tournaments, so that it forces the decks to play against each other. They just were big fishes in small ponds, and yeah. So these are the decks that are loaded. As you can see, it ranges from 83 to 61%. Actually, these decks are doing pretty well too, other than that outlier. 78 to 59%. Is better than I think the first Apex match. So the first round, there are actually a lot of blue decks. There are more blue decks than green decks in the first round. I have a feeling this deck's going to this video is going to get kind of long. So I'm actually going to skip ahead to the final round. All right, so we're at round 5. Here's the results up to this point. These 2 blue decks are crushing it. And then all the rest are green. Got a buy. Why did he... Huh. There must have been a... I don't know why those 2 green decks got buys. In 4 rounds, there should be 4 buys if there's an odd number of... There are 41 decks, so I don't know why there are only 2 buys instead of 4. Changed the max gains back to 1. I set it to 3 while I was speeding through those rounds that I didn't record. So, final round. Now, one thing that I did notice, unfortunately, I'm so disappointed, that those Masterpiece Gearhulks do not seem to be in the green decks. They didn't seem to make it in, which is disappointing, but... And again, I want to point out that the way this is matched up is that it matches up from top to bottom, but it puts them in the list in reverse order. So all these first decks are going to be the worst, the lowest performing decks of the season. And then towards the end, as this number gets lower and lower, you'll start seeing the better decks. I mean, we still have a Generation 0 alive in the format. This guy get matched up twice? No, it's E8 and EV. This game's gonna stall out. I've been forgetting to pull up the graveyards. As you can see, this person used or didn't. Huh. I'm surprised it didn't use how did it get all these tokens? I thought it used I forget what it's called, the two drop green enchantment that you can sacrifice to get +1/+1 all your creatures. That is bizarre, but this match is going to time out, so it's really moot. I'm surprised he hasn't cast this and started spamming out. There we go. It's going to start spamming out constructs, or the time's going to, or it's going to be forced into a draw. That works too. Is that it? No, something went wrong and one of the matches didn't finish, so it's going to finish off the rest of the matches, which may only even be one match. There's 5 matches that got cut off because of that failure. Expert Artisan. Elegant Edge Crafters. Computer doesn't seem to know what to do with cards with Fabricate. I haven't seen him cast very many of them. He keeps them in their hand and doesn't play them. It's a little disappointing. Wait, 18? I don't think it saved any of the matches. Oh well, whatever. You get to see them twice then. Yeah, it didn't load any of them. Oops. Let's hope it doesn't say something's wrong again, because I have had that happen where the last round of a tournament can't finish because it crashes every time. I suspect that's because I'm allowing the AI to use cards that the AI is actually not supposed to be using. They're weighted down, like when it does the random building. There's like a 60% chance if it pulls one of those cards, it'll just say no, not allowed. But it does allow them sometimes, because there are some of them that the computer can use, it just doesn't use them very well. There's the whale that lets you that you spend energy to bounce all cards to hand. That's a card that the AI is not supposed to use, but it uses it. It just uses a vanilla creature. It doesn't use the ability to bounce stuff to hand. It uses a vanilla creature with the ability to gain 3 energy during upkeep, and it uses it rather well. It likes it. It uses it a lot. You haven't seen it yet, but every other time that I've played this, I need to put this somewhere. Ah! Never seen it cast Glimmer of Genius. Oops. Oh, hey, yeah, that's right. You can look at the library, too. I forgot about that. Stick that over here. There's Gear Hulk. Let's see. Oops. Ah, it goes by too quickly. I don't know why that's popping up. Oh yeah, it's because that's the menu that's on the home screen. Blue Deck, Failed Inspection. It's just a little bit off the menu. Now I'm covering the board. There's no easy way of doing this. Could probably move this up and then have the deck along the bottom. What I'll probably do for the future. This is the final match. The top two blue decks that are that have dominated the tournament. And that's that. So yeah, the two blue decks stayed on top. Then green. 3 buys out of 5 rounds. Doesn't scan. Something happened. There's data. So one of the nice things about Apex tournaments is that it breeds the best of the best together rather than taking a random sampling. So let's quickly have a look at these. I have to leave for work soon, but let's pull these up. I want to pull up both of these blue decks. They've got different families, so they're different decks. Blue Pride Tribe decks. 172. Come on, so the sideboard doesn't get used, so we actually don't really care about that. I can't, unfortunately, close out of these closer. Gear Seeker's Serpent is one that looks like Metallurgic Summonings. I'm actually surprised to see. Blue decks seem to discourage that and remove it, but it seems to be working for this one. Aetherworks Marvel. Definitely got an energy theme going on, but you know, it's Kaladesh only, so you expect that. There's really no other strategy but energy whatever. Okay, so here again, sideboard doesn't matter. This one is going for, again, Gear Server's Serpent. It's got the Meteor Colossus, which you see a lot. You usually see one of these in every deck later on, or at least in green and blue. I don't know what the other colors, but we'll start that. If I have time, I'll start that before I leave for work. The Heroic Peafowl likes, this is considered a blue card. That's why you don't see it in any of the green decks, because of this. It's done by color identity, the same way Commander decks are. Sort of Light and Shadow. From what I've seen, I don't know, and I don't know why, but Masterpiece cards tend not to be used. They tend to get weeded out throughout the generic process. For whatever reason, swords, the Sword of Light and Shadow and the Sword of, is it Fire and Ice? It's the other blue one. Yeah, it's Fire and Ice. Those two swords get carried over a lot. There's a third sword that doesn't get used, and I don't know why. It's funny because Sword and Light and Shadow, there are no white and black decks right now. It's just blue and green. But let's speed this up because I need to leave for work soon. Blue Pride, the bottom deck, Blue Pride 2F. I don't know why these aren't in any order that makes sense. 2F8, yes. 118 cards with 19 lands. That would be why you fail. This is one of the best decks. Let's see the worst green deck. It's probably similar. That's why I do this. That's why I like these, is to show the horrible failures of genetic algorithms too. The stuff that, well, I mean, oh right, that's right. It got killed. I'm surprised that deck didn't get killed. 3_78. There it is. 11 lands out of 62 cards. Nothing really strikes me as being weird with this deck. Maybe it just had a bad day. The best winning deck here is 2E, which is funny because it's all these 6th generations, but it's still these lower generations that are still keeping it going. 72 cards, 23 lands, which is a little bit better. Caliprowler, remember I was saying Caliprowler, Ripper and Tiger. Arborback Stomper also is another one. These tend to be like always the thing. Pima Outrider does have Fabricate, that's why I kept it. I don't know why, the computer doesn't cast cards with Fabricate. Maybe it can't process past that decision tree. While the Streams is another card that it doesn't know how to use. Or at least it's flagged as AI do not use. The computer may use it and just may make strange choices. But yeah, that is the best green deck currently. Before I leave for work, I do want to start the other colored decks going. Otherwise, green and blue are going to have way too much of a head start. They have a head start as it is. So we'll do that in the next video.